Here's the lovely tablecloth I bought from Lidl. I'll wash it on a 40 and see how we go. There we go. So here's the front of our apron. Let's fold that in half. I'm going to place that fabric on that fold, and I can see that on the other side because I've decided to follow that pattern line exactly the same way, all the way. Right, now let's draw out the pattern shape for the apron. So let's measure 50 centimetres from the bottom there. That's going to be where my waist is, okay? I'm going to mark 50 centimetres there as well. And just mark that point there. Okay, so I'm going to cut it at 17 centimetres here. So mark at 17, and I'm there, so you can see the two marks there, and just draw a curve along there. Now remember, that bit that's sticking out is going to be folded away. That's going to be our hem. So go. So there we go, there's the apron. If you have other fabric in your stash that might go well with this, and use that as well. And if you want to be really clever using this fabric that you have, you could pattern match. I'm going to use the top edge of this where it's hemmed and use that as the top of my pocket. So see if we can pattern match there. Right. That's the centre fold. I can see where the fabric was folded in half. So that's going to be my line of fold. Go. So cut the fabric out, and if you can place it exactly where it should sit on there. Okay, so I'm going to stitch along the fabric, but I'm going to stitch at 2 centimetres. So pop the needle down, and I'm going to find the groove that measures at 2 centimetres. So that's that one there. Let me show you again. There we go. So that 2 sits along that line there. Okay, so why I'm doing this is so that I can fold my hems really neatly. So it doesn't matter whether you do it the front side facing or the other side, it should all work out really well for you. So start sewing, and I'm going to lock the stitches. So the way to lock your stitches is go back, and you have to keep that pressed down because it's got a spring inside there that just pops up if you let go. So you need to press that down. So it's really tricky to do when you're new to this. So let's follow, we're going to ignore that line actually, and we're going to follow that 2 there. And when you get to the end, on these front-loading machines, so that means the bobbin goes at the front, you can't really go off the fabric. If you do, it tends to get itself in a tangle. So try to keep the fabric under the needle. And when you get to the end, press the reverse and go back 3 stitches. I think that was right. And then make sure you hook. So this take-up lever comes to the top, like that, then lift up the presser foot, and then you can pull this out nice and smoothly. I'm not used to where the cutter is yet. Where is it? There we go. Alright, so there we go, we've got 1 row of stitching done, and well done to you if that's your first ever row of stitches. Grab your pair of scissors and cut that. So we're going to do the same here now. So we're going to follow that line that we've created there. I'm going to fold the fabric so the edge is touching my sewing line like that. Okay, use a clapper if you've got one, don't worry if you haven't, and then just fold around again. Right, and there you go. So you've got yourself a nice finish. So now just top stitch that. And this time, the project, I've changed my thread to white, and I'm going to use the longest length on the stitch. Right, so bring this apron back to the machine. What you need to do is sew along the edge of your fabric. Let me show you. So, oops. So see where those stitches are on the tablecloth that were already there. So they're quite long stitches, so that's why I've chosen 4. So make sure I follow that 1 centimetre line. Just take your time around a curve. Right, so there we go. Okay, here's the pockets. I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to stitch all the way round, a basting stitch all the way round, fold it, and then sew it to the apron. Okay, so I've given it a stitch round, so I did the same as I did before, 2 centimetres all the way round. Fold along that line, so the stitching line, like that, all the way round. And then what happens is it sort of pleats into itself here at the curve, but allow it to do that. Don't worry about it pleating round. It's just the way it has to work. So there we go. And this time you don't actually have to fold on the inside again, because that's going to be hidden away in the stitching. So just take your time and make it worth doing. There you go. That sits perfectly. I've got some threads there. Be in the habit of cutting threads away. Keep your work tidy and be in the habit of using the iron. I know lots of people don't like using the iron because it's a case of having to get up a lot, but it makes a world of difference to the end, to the make. Okay, so that's reasonably matched. Grab some pins. And I don't like putting pins too close to the edge because you have to take them out as you sew. And that's so fiddly and frustrating when you just want to get on and sew and concentrate on what you're doing. So just do the best you can. And you don't need zillions of pins. I see lots of people put 20, 30 pins in just a little bit. And all it does is cause frustration for you. Right. I think that will hold it together. Right, there we go. And as I go round, I'm going to just make sure the lines match up as I stitch. To see the oval here, what happens is I like to place my edge of my fabric there so that the needle sits about there, and that will give a nice edge finish. So 1/4 of the tablecloth made the apron, and the other 1/4 has made my pocket. I'm going to use the rest of it to make some straps. 2, 3. Make sure you've got your 1 centimetre all along there, fold it over, so pop, I'm going back to 2.5 on the stitch, pop the needle in where the line is, and let's lock that stitch. Okay, and then just hold on, and then just go forward. Make sure those threads are at the back. Remove that pin, and that's much easier. Than if the pin's that way, because it gets in the way of your machine. So make sure you put your pins in the correct way. Now I'm going to carry on without the line, because if you've been watching, the fabric sits at the edge of the foot. Cut that away. Right, so there's our first tube. The second one, the next two, I'm going to sew across the top like this first. Lock the stitches and pivot round, just one more stitch, and pivot round like that, and then continue on all the way down. Now if you've got a thick straw like this and some bamboo sticks, which we picked up in the local takeaway, you can see the difference at the bottom there. All I've done is put that through the pencil sharpener and sharpened it so I can point the corners, and I'll use this one for turning the tube, these tubes. So what we do is we put the straw in to the tube, and you can do this with thinner straws as well. So you need to have this go all the way to the other end. Push your straw all the way to the other end. Keep going. And then I've not cut the threads away, don't worry. I'm going to push that end into the straw and just keep going like that, and keep pulling the fabric all the way like that. And then eventually what happens is I can probably pull that out now, and then the bamboo stick appears on the other end with the tube turned the right way. So that's a really good way of turning tube. Put the strap over my neck like that. So that's the strap I've made. Here's the apron. I want to sit that apron about there when I'm cooking. So as long as the strap sits like that, I'm happy. So you want to just check you can take it off over your head. I've got the sewing, see that seam, got that down at the bottom. Make sure that, let's make sure that raw edge is going to be hidden inside my stitches like that. Okay. And if they escape, like they have done, just push it in. And I didn't lock stitch, so I'm going over my stitches again. For some reason I've got a kink there. And lock those stitches, and it'll give an extra secure hold on that strap. There we go. Put that thread away, and there we are.